Hi friends, good day. We have seen in the last class a few problems, 6 problems I think we have worked out. I hope you might have gone through that. Today we'll be discussing few more left out points. With this we can conclude the chapter. Accounting year for NBFC. Every non-banking financial company shall prepare its balance sheet and P&L account as on 31st March every year. Clear? Every non-banking financial company shall prepare its balance sheet and P&L account as on 31st March every year. Whenever a non-banking financial company intends to extend the date of its balance sheet, whenever a non-banking financial company intends to extend the date of its balance sheet as per provisions of the Companies Act, but it should take prior approval of the Reserve Bank of India. First you should take Reserve Bank of India approval before approaching the registrar of the company for the purpose. That means whenever NBFC intends to extend the date of its balance sheet as per provisions of the Companies Act, before you approach the register of companies, you first get prior approval of Reserve Bank of India. Further, even in cases where the bank and the registrar of companies grant extension time, further even in cases where bank has granted extension of that and registrar of companies also grant extension of time, the non-banking financial company shall furnish to bank a pro forma balance sheet unaudited as on 31st March of the year and the statutory returns that they are supposed to submit due on the said date. It means suppose the RBI, Reserve Bank of India and Register of Companies has allowed extension of time, even then at least a pro forma balance sheet unaudited along with statutory returns shall be furnished to bank. Clear? Furnished to bank means Reserve Bank of India. Every non-banking financial company shall finalize its balance sheet within a period of 3 months from the date to which it pertains. It means suppose they are given extension, but that such NBFC which got extension that you can prepare after 31st March, they have to finalize the balance sheet within a period of 3 months from the date to which it pertains. Suppose 31st March 20. 3 months means April, May, June. At least by 30th June, they shall finalize the balance sheet. So point number 1, balance sheet and P&L account has to be prepared on 31st March every year. But if NBFC having intention of extending the date of its balance sheet, first they must get approval of RBI, and then after getting the approval of RBI they have to approach register of companies. In cases where bank and register of companies has extended the time, still such NBFC has to prepare a pro forma balance sheet unaudited as on 31st March of the year and statutory returns due on the said date. Then third point, every non-banking company whoever got extension shall finalize its account within a period of 3 months from the date to which it pertains means 31st March. From that date within 3 months they must finalize the balance sheet. Next, disclosure in the balance sheet. What are the items we shall disclose? Every non-banking financial company shall separately disclose in its balance sheet the provisions made as per requirements without netting them from the income or against the value of assets. Every non-banking financial company shall separately disclose the provisions made without netting them from the income or against the value. It means the provisions shall be distinctly indicated under separate head of accounts, like provision for bad and doubtful debts, provision for depreciation investment. Like that you will be doing it. And then such provisions shall not be appropriated from general provisions and loss reserves held, if any, by NBFC. That means you cannot adjust these provisions out of general provisions and loss reserves maintained by NBFC, if at all they maintain anything. But however, such provisions for each year shall be debited to which account? Profit and loss account. What are those provisions, sir? Profit provisions for bad and doubtful debts, provision for depreciation in investment. Okay, and such provisions for every year debited to P&L account. The excess of provision, if any, held under the heads. See, provision which you have maintained is more, but actual loss is less. Incurring expense or loss is less. So that excess provision normally we say we carry forward. But here what they are saying, like PBD account, when you open, the provision which is excess will be normally we keep on continuing the provision, no? But where excess provision is maintained, there also we have learned excess provision which is no longer required is to be credited to profit and loss account. The same concept we shall apply here. Such provisions for each year shall be debited to P&L account. The excess of provision, if any, held under the head general provisions and loss reserves may be returned back without making adjustment against them. But however, if you are having any excess provision held under the head general provisions, see, the excess provision which is no longer required is maintained, and provision and loss reserves may be returned back without making adjustment. That means it is to be written off, excess provision which is not required. Every systematically important non-deposit taking and non-banking financial company shall disclose the following particulars: capital to risk asset ratio, exposure to real estate sector, both direct and indirect, maturity pattern of assets and liabilities. That means this is only theory part. What are the things we shall disclose in the balance sheet? Okay, I think this is clear. Then after that we will be moving on to next point. Preparation of financial statement of NBFCs. All NBFCs should comply with the accounting standards and guidance notes issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, so far as these are not inconsistent with the directions of the Reserve Bank of India. That means should comply with the accounting standards and guidance notes issued by ICAI, so far as these are not inconsistent. That means when you are following ICAI guidelines, they should not be inconsistent with the directions of RBI. On 30th March 2016, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs of India issued a roadmap for implementation of Indian accounting standard by non-banking financial company. As for the notification, the following NBFCs shall comply with the Indian accounting standards for accounting period beginning on or after 1st April 2018 with comparatives for the periods ending 31st March 18 or thereafter. A NBFC having a net worth of rupees 500 crores or more, holding subsidiary joint venture of association companies of companies covered under this item. The following NBFCs whose NBFCs having net worth of rupees 500 crore or more shall comply Indian accounting standard. Okay, and they are also saying that the following NBFCs means holding subsidiary joint venture or associate companies of companies covered under item A. The companies which have been subsidiary or holding or joint venture of these A category also will come under accounting standards for preparation of financial statements. Then the following NBFC shall comply with Indian accounting standards for accounting periods beginning or after 1st April 19 with comparatives for the periods ending 31st March 19. NBFCs whose equity or debt securities are listed or in the process of listing in any stock exchange of India and having a net worth less than rupees 500 crore. NBFC that are unlisted companies having net worth of rupees 250 crores or more but less than 500 crores, they also shall follow accounting standard, Indian accounting standards. Holding subsidiary joint venture or associate companies of companies covered under A item or B as subclause B Any holding company, subsidiary company, joint venture of this A, B also shall follow, comply with Indian accounting standards. Other NBFCs shall prepare their financial statements based on company's accounting standard rules, okay, other than above. Further, RBI wide notification dated 13th March 2020 has issued regulatory guidance of Indian accounting standard which will be applicable on Indian accounting standards NBFCs for preparation of their financial statement from financial year 1920. Okay, so Indian accounting standards are applicable from the financial year 1920. It has been given. Next, requirement as to capital adequacy. So when we talk about requirement of capital adequacy, the few points I wish to tell you: NBFCs non-deposit with asset side of less than 500 crore are exempted from requirement of maintaining CRAR, is nothing but capital to risk asset ratio, okay, and complying with credit concentration norms. A leverage ratio of 7 is being introduced for all such NBFCs non-deposit to link their asset growth with capital they hold. For this purpose, leverage ratio, how to calculate leverage ratio is nothing but total outside liabilities by owned funds. What is owned funds? We have learned in previous class. So this is what NBFCs ND. Then at present, non-banking financial companies and non-banking companies, non-deposits systemically important, are required to have a minimum CRAR of 15%. Consequently, Tier 1 capital cannot be less than 10% for infrastructure finance companies. Tier 1 capital cannot be less than 10%. Tier 1 capital cannot be less than for 10% for infrastructure finance company also. Tier 1 capital cannot be less than 10%. Similarly, NBFCs primarily engage in lending against gold jewelry have to maintain a minimum Tier 1 capital of 12%. The total of Tier 2 capital at any point after shall not exceed 100% of Tier 1 capital. So just few things you remember. For those NBFC non-deposit asset size is less than 500 crores, they need to maintain leverage ratio of 7. What is leverage ratio, sir? Total outside liabilities by own fund. Then next point. At present, all non-banking financial deposit and non-banking company non-deposits systematically important are required to have a maintain of CRAR of 15%. Okay, this is what is an important point. So then, my dear friends, the remaining things, Tier 1 capital cannot be less than 10%, etc. Just for information. So here it is 15% and here it is 7% for less than 500 crores. Okay, and remaining things we have already learned, and capital adequacy ratio in bank account, Tier 1 capital, Tier 2 capital, how to create provision, etc. All those things has been already mentioned. You don't have off balance sheet, on balance sheet items, then off balance sheet items, risk, etc. You don't have any problems. This stuff has already been covered in capital adequacy ratio of bank accounts. So that is why I am not touching on this, because you don't have any problem. If there is any problem, we could have gone. Next, we are into asset liability management. Okay, now the last point, asset liability management. See, asset liability management is a risk management tool that helps bank or NBFC to manage its liquidity risk and interest rate risk. Asset liability management involves the analysis of structural liquidity gap analysis, interest rate gap analysis, net interest income analysis, net interest margin analysis, tolerance analysis, cost to close analysis, duration gap analysis, trend analysis, comparative analysis, present value analysis, forward analysis, and scenario analysis. These are the various analysis they wish to have. Okay, to manage liquidity and interest rate risk. What are the advantages of doing this, sir? It is a powerful tool that helps banks plan long-term financial funding and capital strategy using present value analysis. With ALM, it is also called as ALM. A bank or NBFC can model interest income and expenses for analysis and reprice assets and liabilities. Okay, and also based on asset liability management position, banks and or NBFCs can also model effect of competitive pricing to create innovative and imaginative new banking products. Banking product is means making attracted to the people who want to get some benefit out of it. It helps regulatory compliances for banks through appropriate investment disinvestment decision to maintain the required statutory liquidity ratio, credit reserve ratio and other ratios as per the Reserve Bank of India guidelines. So these all are like how it's very vast subject, theory part of it, how they will be having, just we are having a brief glance at it. Asset liability management is a risk management tool that helps bank to manage its liquidity risk and interest rate risk, because liquidity portion is very important for any organization. This is a powerful tool that helps banks, NBFC plan a long-term financial funding and capital strategy using present value analysis. The present value analysis will be useful for future prediction. So in this regard, I wish to give you an article I have seen just only for information I am sharing. It came in just a minute, my dear friends. An article I have seen in Business Standard newspaper on May 2nd 2021. The Reserve Bank of India conducts supervision of the banks through off-site monitoring of the banks and annual inspection of the banks where applicable. Just information I am sharing with you, my dear friends. The Reserve Bank of India has decided to review and strengthen the risk-based supervision of the banking sector with a view to enable financial sector players to address the emerging challenges. Okay, the RBI uses RBS model including both qualitative and quantitative elements to supervise banks, urban cooperative banks, non-banking financial companies and all India financial institutions. So they are going to supervise banks, urban cooperative banks, non-banking financial companies and all India financial institutions. It is now intended to review the supervisory process and mechanism in order to make the extant RBS model more robust and capable of addressing emerging challenges while removing the inconsistencies, if any, the RBI said, while inviting bids for technical experts consultants to carry forward the process for banks. Because we have said that RBI wants to conduct supervision of the banks through off-site monitoring. For that, they have decided to go for bidding. They are asking the people, okay, they are asking the people who are interested in providing their expertise services so that they will be useful for supervisory as a role of supervisory functioning. Okay, so they have decided inviting bids for technical experts consult to carry forward the process for banks. In case of urban cooperative banks and non-banking financial companies, the expression of interest for consultant for review of supervisory model said that supervisory functions pertaining to commercial banks, urban cooperative banks and non-banking financial companies are now integrated. So they are going to have, they want to use the consultant review of supervisory models calling the experts consultants to review the performance of the three books, these three banks: integration of commercial banks, urban commercial banks, and integrated and also non-banking financial companies. These three are now integrated with the objective of harmonizing, means arranging the things. The supervisory approach based on the activities size of the supervisory entities. It is intended to review the existing supervisory rating models under CAMELS approach for improved risk capture in forward-looking manner and for harmonizing supervisory approach across all sectors, it said. Now, annual financial inspections of UCBs, urban cooperative bank and non-banking financial companies are lodged on CAMELS. I've used the term CAMELS. Sir, what is the meaning of CAMELS, sir? Here they have used it. This is only for additional information I am providing. No need to worry from the examination point of view. Sir, what is CAMELS, sir? C stands for capital adequacy. Then A stands for asset quality. M stands for management. E stands for earnings. L stands for liquidity. S stands for systems and control. It is called as CAMELS approach. CAMELS model rather. Clear? CAMELS model. What is CAMELS model? Capital adequacy. We have discussed capital adequacy ratio, asset quality, and M stand for management. E stands for earning. L stands for liquidity and system and control. RBI undertakes supervision of SCs with objective of assessing their financial soundness. With respect of NBFC, I am saying financial soundness, solvency, asset quality, governance framework, liquidity and operational viability, so as to protect depositors' interest and financial stability. The Reserve Bank of India conducts supervision of the banks through offsite monitoring of the banks, and an annual inspection of the banks where applicable. In case of UCB, here it is urban cooperative bank, urban cooperative bank and NBFCs, it conducts the supervision through a mix of offsite monitoring and on-site. Off-site monitoring they will do, on-site inspection also they go wherever applicable. A technical advisory group consisting of senior officers of the RBI would examine the documents submitted by the applicants with connection. Okay, so this is about your how they will be giving importance and how they will be giving significance for supervision. So it is clear to all of you. So as I told you, it is EOI means expression of interest also. So a technical advisory group consisting of senior officers of the RBI would examine the documents submitted by applicants in connection with the expression of interest. So in case of NBFC, the expression of interest for consultant, for them they will be providing this, they will be supervising this. So expression of interest said the consultant would be required to work in close coordination with the officers RBI department supervision in Mumbai. It means simple words. What I am trying to tell you is that so how the RBI has given significance for supervision of these NBFCs to safeguard the interest of the depositors. Okay, that is why various things, capital adequacy ratio, all those things, just to have a clarity, just I have taken an example that has been mentioned in the one e-letter which I got, through which I have I'm sharing this information. Next, illustration 7, let us see. XYZ Limited is an NBFC registered with RBI as a non-deposit accepting company its main activity including issuing term loans of different tenures. One of its major customers, ABC Limited, is engaged in the business of manufacturing. However, due to this problem was not there earlier, so watch out for this problem. Maybe suddenly whenever new problem has been updated, you can expect a 5 marks question. Please watch out. This is a simple or a 4 marks question. Just have a glance at this. One of its major customers, ABC Limited, is engaged in the business of manufacturing. However, due to falling demand and non-recovery of existing trade receivable, ABC Limited is facing working capital difficulties. So, as on 31st March 2001, outstanding amount in respect to ABC Limited is as under. Okay. Principal amount outstanding for more than 8 months, 250 lakhs. Interest and penalties on the above 30 lakhs. XYZ is a non-banking financial company. He is following accrual system for accounting of income. Following this same, the company has accrued 30 lakhs as interest income, means interest and penalty is due, no? It is accrued. Following the same, the company has accrued 30 lakhs as interest income in the financial statement. They have shown 30 lakhs as accrued income in the financial statements. Now you are required to state whether income accrued 30 lakhs is in accordance with non-banking financial company, systematically important and non-deposit taking company. Means can you take interest and penalties on the outstanding loan amount, principal amount of 250 lakhs which is due for more than 8 months. Is it in accordance with non-banking finance company, systemically important non-deposit take company directions or not? So I think it is very clear. As per the said direction we have learned in the last class, non-performing asset shall mean a term loan inclusive of unpaid interest when the installment is overdue for a period of 6 months or more. Here more than 8 months, no? So on which interest amount is remained overdue for a period of 6 months or more. In present case, dues of ABC Limited is outstanding for more than 6 months. Hence, ABC Limited will need to be classified as NPA because outstanding amount is for more than 6 months. In the books of XY Limited, that is NBFC, as on 31st March 2011, once an asset becomes NPA, any income on the said asset need to be recognized only on cash basis but not an accrual basis. Also, previous income accrued but not received need to be reversed because they have already taken 30 lakhs as income, no? Since you cannot treat that as an income, it is to be reversed. Okay. So based on the same, XYZ shall stop accruing further interest accrued on term loan of ABC Limited. Also 30 lakhs accrued interest accrued but not realized need to be reversed. This I have told you already. So 30 lakhs cannot be considered as income unless we are receiving in cash, unless it is being realized. Since the loan amount is outstanding for more than 6 months. With this chapter has been completed, but you got some problems here. You can work out this. This is about calculate the amount of provision. Standard asset 0.4% when need to apply, 0.25% when to apply, and standard asset I have given already. This you can work out. Same using information. Maybe second problem, third problem, we have done the same model. This also can same. These two models we have worked out, values changed, and this also we have worked out. Net book value last class, and this also we have worked out. More than 200 accounts more than, and this problem also we have worked out already. So these problems you can practice as a homework. Okay. So with this I am concluding today's class, my dear friends. So I hope you all have got some clarity. The reason is that you should not have any apprehension, sir has left or here and there. This particular topic, unless you are into NBFC scenario, really having so many examples on this thing, you better understand it. But basically we have known what is NBFC and how you are classifying that, and what kind of NBFCs are to be registered with RBI, what kind of NBFCs need not be registered, and these simple few things. So basically income recognition, asset classification, provisions. I think these three are the model that has been given in the examination problems. I think, and also net owned fund and net owned fund. These four models, if you look into it, you shall be able to do it. Okay. Thank you very much. Only my suggestion, you watch out. You can download M21 the study material, this particular chapter. Okay, we come out with a new chapter in the next class. Till then, goodbye. Thank you. God bless you all.